My friends, good day. I would like to talk to you about a particular situation that can happen in your studies, that can happen in your work at any moment in your life. I'm talking about that situation where you're addressing someone who has the power to do something for you, and you don't have much time, you have extremely little time, and you have to make the most of it. When we say in English elevator pitch, what does it mean? It means we imagine this situation figuratively. You get into the elevator, the door closes, and next to you is your boss's boss's boss. For example, you say hello, he says hello, he smiles at you. You can tell from his body language that he's open to a conversation, so you talk with him. You've been needing to ask him something for several days. And you have 20 seconds, 30 seconds, the time it takes for the elevator to reach the floor to make your request. And you have to hit exactly the right spot, so he'll say yes. So everyone knows this situation because we face it quite often in our lives. Now there's a very interesting twist. So this video, this one goes beyond that situation. Let me tell you, I was in a big company. I'm keeping the details vague on purpose. And then I had a responsibility that, in my opinion, I had to resolve myself. But there were a lot of guys on the team, including the M+1 and all that, who didn't want to give me that responsibility. I felt like something was going on. Except it's not just that I wanted that responsibility for myself just because I wanted it, because usually that doesn't work in the company. When it's just about what you want, they're not interested in that. They need to see what's in it for them too. Actually, it was based on the fact that there was a technology that was absolutely critical for this project, and I was the only one who mastered it. And without that technology, it would be a disaster. Anyway, if they put someone else on it, it would be a disaster. And that's something I could demonstrate on a whiteboard. You see, so it's very important when you make a request in your company, don't say, I want, I need. You begin explaining based on your background, career, aspirations, expectations, and salary. But that's not how it works. They don't really care about what you want. What they want is their own interest. So you have to manage to be polite. You have to manage to wrap your interest and theirs in the same package. That's essential and basic. If you don't do that, you'll keep hearing no. Now, here's the situation. I knew that this boss, he's the boss of the company. There was no one above him except the boss of the company. And like all bosses, he had a very large discretionary power. And that if I spoke to him directly and explained the situation, I could go over everyone else's head. So it's really risky. My friends, I'm not in this video to advise this kind of thing. I'm telling you, it can work, but it's a one-shot deal. Be careful, don't do it all the time. You can do it in exceptional situations, and you need to think several times if it's worth it or not. I'll say, okay, I'm being nice. Let's say it's 50-50. In half of the cases, it's worth it. In the other half, it's not worth it at all. Now, here's what I had prepared. I had prepared my pitch. I had prepared an explanation. What's the situation? What's the situation there? That we were heading for disaster, that we were going to lose a strategic client, that we were going to lose a lot of money. All of that, you see, it's always about the company's interest. And why me? I was the right person for this project, you see. So I had prepared this package and it was about 45-50. Okay. Now, what else had I prepared? And maybe that's the mistake we all make. It's not really a mistake, but I would say it's a blind spot. Let me tell you, I had prepared this. I thought to myself, I'll prepare some objections. So how do objections work? They might block me, and why? Because every time we ask, look, we're human. I'm no different from you. We're human. When you ask for something, what are you afraid of? The slap in the face? You're afraid they'll say no. You're afraid they'll tell you to get lost, right? So what do? You prepare objections. Everyone who has called, you know, I made calls too. I worked in cold calling once. It didn't last long. It was when I was a student. We made cold sales calls and had a list of common questions and objections. We memorized them, but also kept them by the phone. It was like, if the client says this, if he says it's too expensive, if he says we don't need it, if he tells you to get lost, if he says, you know, a list of responses to objections. So what I did was I did my work and prepared my own list of objections. And how could I bounce back? Okay, I go up to the guy, so I find him. At one point, there was a cafeteria. It was empty. There was only him. He was sitting at a table. He looked a bit lost like that. During his meditations, I imagined a cup of coffee in front of him. Okay, I'm coming. Hi. Well, yes, I'm fine, he says to me. I say, yes, I'm fine. I wanted to tell you. And then, bam, I spill it. I tell my story. He listened to me. He listened to me. And actually, he was listening like a poker player, the poker player. He's trained to hide his emotions. So, which means he was listening to me, but I didn't know if I was scoring points or not. Not the slightest idea. So he was looking at me. He was looking. I didn't want to drag it out. I didn't want to talk to him for 15 minutes. After 45 seconds, I stopped. That's it. I told myself, that's it. But the most important arguments got through. He hesitated for 3 seconds and then he answered me. And you, what do you say? Actually, it took me the whole class. Why? Because in this game of I'm coming to ask you something unexpectedly, we always expect the other person. It's a bit like tennis. I hit the ball to you with the racket, I serve, and what do? Well, you take your racket and hit it back, right? But imagine if you did something else. Imagine you grabbed the ball and ran with it, or you kicked it with your foot or something. Well, that's exactly what happened. He didn't play by the rules of the objection. That means instead of throwing an objection back at me, an objection in my face, in that case, I would have felt in my element. Since everyone was ready, he would have objected and I would have responded. Well, he looked at me for 3 seconds and said, and you, what do you say? That means, what do you want? You explained the problem to me and said we could lose the client. You told me that the people who were considered for this didn't have the skills, that the situation was almost disastrous, catastrophic and all that. Okay, but you, what do you say? So what do you want? And I realized that when we do an elevator pitch or when we make a request, well, we don't mentally prepare ourselves for that. We don't mentally prepare ourselves for the possibility that the person, instead of blocking us, says, okay, all right, I'm ready to talk. Okay, you've caught my attention. What you're saying is interesting. Okay, what's next? What next? That, we don't expect it. And that's why I'm making this video. I'd like you to prepare for what's next. Don't just prepare for a no. Don't just prepare for a negative outcome. Also prepare for the other possibility. When he says, okay, I'm listening, you've caught my attention, what you say is interesting. Come to my office, have a seat and tell me what you want. We have half an hour. Do you see this? No one prepares for it mentally. So in this particular case, I had to improvise. I had to improvise what I wanted, but he caught me off guard. I told him, well, there you go. Listen, since I have this skill, I think this responsibility should logically fall to me, and I'll make sure the project is successful and all that. So I bounced back after 2 seconds of hesitation, you see, and I said, okay, fine, I told myself, fine, under Société Canada, I'll see. That's all he said, under. I thanked him, I left, okay. I wasn't sure if I had scored any points or if after I left, he would just forget me and move on. In fact, 2 days later, I get a call. That was from my N+1. Yeah, listen, he didn't even mention me. He didn't even mention the other one. Yeah, listen, we talked, we discussed about this role and all that. Are you ready? Are you ready? Later on, we're going to talk. We're having a little meeting with so-and-so and so-and-so. We have things to discuss. I got him, I had him, so okay, I definitely scored a point and I got him. So, well, actually, I also got a few unpleasant remarks from some people, little comments whispered in my ear, etc., saying, yes, I know what you did, all that. Yes, I got that. I got those reprimands, but I was extremely, extremely protected because I had done a good job. So there you go, my friends. I took on a big responsibility, asked for it, and lived up to it. That was enough. It's a lot of work, but I wanted to share this situation with you and explain how to prepare for such conversations. Thank you, my friends. See you in the next video.